Triambakam yajamahe Sugandhim pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanam Mrityurmukshyamamritat
Hi, this is Amelia Eon Karis.
Hey everyone, it's Satya, and you're listening to Love, Sex and the Hidden Agenda. Hey, welcome back. It's Satya here. Hey, Amelia.
Hello.
So today I have some thoughts going on, and I was thinking about actually this boyfriend I had who had this foot thing, and like a foot fetish.
A what thing? Oh, a foot fetish.
Yeah, a foot fetish, and it was pretty awesome, I have to say. But it made me want to
worshiping your feet and stuff.
Yes,
like
kind of
on your toes, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's kinky. Yeah,
like that, and then using my feet just in different ways, like during like the act of making love and whatnot, and it was unique and different, and I felt surprisingly I couldn't believe the way it made me feel, and the sensations, and how much more erotic and arousing sex was just with it, and so it got me thinking about just feet in general, and how throughout history there's been all this stuff about feet, and like Cinderella and her glass slipper, and Jesus washing the feet of the prostitute, and just the whole thing. And I've had experiences, actually one with you at a retreat, with like I felt portals in my feet opening up. I felt all this energy going through. So something's going on there. And I wanted to, and I know that even the idea of feet or heels and foot fetish is also becoming more, I guess, talked about and known. And anyway, so I couldn't wait to bring it onto our show and pick your brain a little bit, because I want to know, like, what have your experiences been with feet, or just history or spirituality, or what do you know about feet?
Yeah, well, there are portals to our soul, the feet. All over the body, we have spin points in our morphogenetic field, the field that informs and makes up our physical body. The Vedics would call it the nadis, the light, the pathways of light, or the Taoist, refer to the meridians.
Right.
And then, you see the Kama Sutra, and a lot of those sexual positions and the art of sexuality was all based on those spin points. It's this ancient science of how, whether it's our ears or our forearms, or like, all these places where, in modern day context, it's like tickling and these erogenous zones. Those are all spin points for energy that are moving in and out of the body, informing you from different levels. But when you bring in the full spiritual experience, I think in the feet, it's our connection to the earth. It's the place where we ground, and there's a lot of detoxing that happens through the feet, like in the foot baths. There's so much energy that gets released through the soles of the feet, and how we take in energy. It keeps us grounded, literally. Like it's the electrical current that keeps us connected to the planet, right? It's the gravitational force field. So there's constantly energy moving from our feet to the earth and back. And then when we connect and people touch our feet, we're conducting energy in and out. So whether you're receiving energy or giving, the flow goes both ways. So somebody touching your feet is very much going to receive a lot of energy from you, and they can also put energy through your feet. I had a mystic teacher in one of my mystery schools I went to. He's a trained Hungarian mystic, and he did something I've never seen anyone else do, which was foot readings. He would read the soles of your feet instead of your palms of your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting. He said that there was, so much information about the soul, our soul in the soles of our feet. I found that really fascinating. And the one reading he gave me kind of spooked me out, and I didn't want to learn and know anymore because it was too much prediction for me that it, he told me I was going to have, I think I mentioned it on the podcast once. He told me I was going to have some child that was like autistic. And I was like, I'm locking down my ovaries. And from that day on, I was like, I'm not having kids. Like, no way. I was like that future is not going to happen. He saw some image of a child like reaching up to me, and I wasn't available for the child. I didn't understand the child. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a repeat of my mother and me. I'm never going to do that to a child. I don't want to do that to a child. So yeah, a lot, right? That's a lot of information.
Oh gosh. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of foot reading. That's
hadn't either. Yeah, I hadn't either. But yeah, back to the foot. Yeah, there's so much that happens in the feet. So what happened in the retreat with me? What are you referring to with what'd you say? Your chakras opened in the feet?
Yeah. We were in a deep dive, and I was laying down, and I think we'd been in meditation in that state for maybe an hour or something. And
was this during the unwind session in Shasta?
Yeah, I think so. It was years ago. So I'm like, yeah, it was in Mount Shasta. Yeah. And I just could feel all this. I just felt the arches of my feet were just opening and spinning, and there was all this light and just like, I don't know, shooting out, shooting in, just on fire, like buzzing. And it was happening in the palms of my hands as well. And I know.
Isn't this the time that your voice opened also?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. I remember now. I'm reading your energy, like watching the body as you're describing it. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I just, there was a lot going on then. But I remember I definitely remember that about my feet, because I had never felt that before.
Yeah, well, going back to that moment, because now I'm remembering the exact moment you're talking about. There, you were rushing so much current, and you were so multidimensionally open. Like we had just done the unwind. You were dancing. I remember you stomping your feet a lot. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, because there was the drumming, and I remember you getting into this sort of like African primal stomp. You don't remember?
No.
I have you on video actually. And what's funny is I was watching that video just like 2 days ago, and I was going to send it to you because we had some videos on in that session. But it's so sacred. I was like, I have to show her this because this was the moment that she woke up, and I wonder what energy you would be seeing.
Oh, wow.
So I will send that to you.
Oh, wow. Oh, thank you.
Anyone else should see it necessarily. There was so much energy. It was, but I remember, you rushing energy through the feet. And I think, when we open the gates of our body, like what I'm doing in the unwind practice and in these body clearings of becoming multidimensional beings, we have to open and clear the spin points, all these gateways in the body. So these spin points are, we've got, I think, over 3,000 spin points in our field. So they all, in order for us to be fully realized as an evolved soul, like living our full human potential, we would have all of our nadis like fully rushing with clear light, and we'd be this full electrical ball of light.
Right.
Getting to that point would wake us up to all of our extrasensory, multidimensional knowing. It's a very evolved state. Very few people on the planet can hold that state, but we're getting there, right? It's happening faster and faster. And in that moment, I remember seeing you stretch. And I think we talked about this in a previous podcast where I saw you in the 12th dimension. And I was so grateful because you were holding that pole for me as I was doing some soul retrieval for another participant. And you started doing that sound surgery, like pitch that you did. And I was so grateful because you kept the gate open to the higher plane while I had to go low. And whenever we do this kind of clearing work or soul work, everything works in polarity. So, the shadow and the light have to match in terms of depth or breadth or, so I was diving really deep and I needed support and I asked for support. And then you were like all vibratory and then you heard it and went there. And
yeah, that was
a very powerful time.
That was very, I one of the reasons that was so amazing to me was that there was no speaking about it. It was all, telepathic. It was all just that I knew what was needed. It was like we were on another realm talking to each other or understanding what was going on and what was necessary. And I just knew, and people, I think that happens to everyone more often than they realize, but we don't.
Well, and that's the self-mastery that I talk about all the time, that I'm looking to continue to activate within myself, but experience in collaboration with others, because I feel that that's our potential of our species. Like I feel each one of us holds that amount of knowing within us if we could just access it. And when those lights in the body, when the nadis and all these gateways are open and flowing, that kind of instinctual primal knowing, the intuition, all of it, the telepathic communication, we're already hooked into the same frequencies. So you just know why you're there and what you're supposed to do. Whether your conscious mind and your intellectual mind can cognize what you're doing in the moment, that's a different story. But your spirit starts doing the work it came here to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I, along the line with the feet, I didn't think of what you just said about the, foot baths. And I've seen those at conferences and stuff, and all this stuff comes out in the water. If you do like these Chinese foot baths and,
super detoxifying. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is amazing that we do detoxify through our feet, and we connect with the earth through our feet. And in a way it's almost like, I guess, sexually speaking, and as far as the brain goes and sexual arousal, I know that the areas of disgust and pain and arousal and pleasure, it's all very located in a similar spot. So it makes sense, I guess, on that level.
Well, yeah. And like in a lot of cultures, most cultures, I think the feet are dirty, right? Like when you go into an Asian house, you have to remove your shoes or wash your feet before you enter the home, because you have so much toxicity and bacteria on your feet that, in ancient days, everyone's feet were washed when they came home because they weren't wearing shoes. And now it's modern day. It's like you take your shoes off and
your shoes are right. Your shoes
Yeah.
are protecting your feet. And so you take your shoes off and,
But
Yeah.
the anointment, I had this interesting experience when the portals of my feet open, and I haven't told you this, so I'll share it with you because it's kind of similar to what happened to you with the unwind thing we did, but more akin to like an initiation for me, waking up to my gifts. It was, I think it was 2005, so it was a couple years after I had my major Kundalini awakening, and I had gone back to school, and I was studying consciousness healing and ecology at this kind of alternative college. And although we were in consciousness studies and it was a very intensive program and we were exploring all of this stuff, our cohort of like 30 students, everybody had different, what do you call them? Like focuses. So not everyone was in consciousness and healing. We were all ecologists, but most people in that batch were maybe into green business or green building, or some of them, maybe half of them were into the consciousness studies. But even within the consciousness studies, there was like, people coming at it from the perspective of, Eastern medicine and mind-body connection, that kind of thing. I was waking up to the fact that I'm this multidimensional galactic portal and channeling. So they let me do my thesis on the metamorphosis of the human, like moving into this multidimensional human. So that was my year of study. And we were having our last class, and they just circled everyone to have, a kind of intentional moment, but there was no shaman. It was like everyone just circled up and they were kind of praying, but there was nobody really strongly holding the circle. I mean, there was definitely, it was, they were holding it from a leadership perspective, but it felt more like kind of a hippie business meeting rather than like a shamanic person who can handle the type of energy a group field creates. And so I started going into spontaneous trance. At those times, I couldn't control when this would happen to me. And so she's holding it and praying, and I'm thinking, oh, that's sweet that we're gathering, and I'm going to miss these people. This was an amazing program. And then all of a sudden, something very weird happened in the room where I started seeing like swirling energy, and it was almost like I was going to faint. But like my seeing turned on to a level that I couldn't control, and I started to shake really strongly. And there was a girl who was in the program who was opposite me in this circle of 30 people holding hands. And she looked at me, and I knew her as like a witch from ancient times. Like, she was in the program, and the whole year I always sort of had this issue with her. I sort of saw her as like a Jezebel type, a woman I shouldn't trust, someone that, I don't know, like I loved her for the sense that she was there doing the work, but like there was something in me that just never trusted her or felt she was like playing with dark magic or something. And in the circle, at that moment when I started to see everything go blurry and dizzy, I saw an energetic, like dark lightning bolt hit me. And I started going into convulsions, literally. I mean, that's what it looked like to everyone else. And I couldn't control it. And I tried to let go of the hands and move away. I was just going to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't even move. I fell to the floor and was like in Kundalini. It looked like I'm having a seizure for someone who wasn't aware of what was happening.
Oh my God. That's how it was for me too during that unwind session. My eyes were like
rolling
twitching.
In the back of your head.
And I was shaking, and I felt like maybe I was paralyzed, but maybe I wasn't. But like I couldn't move, and I Yeah, I didn't know. It
Not
was
cool, right?
thank God I'd been meditating a long time before that, and I felt safe in that. Otherwise, I would have freaked out. Anyway, I just
Thank God you were laying down at the point and we had just done it, right? I mean, but
Right.
I wasn't. I was standing up, and I'm supposed to be like in a conscious mind. Like nobody's doing deep spiritual soul retrieval work. We're just saying goodbye.
Right.
Like, all right, this was a sweet program. Bye, everyone. Let's sing a song, like kumbaya kind of a thing. And I go onto the floor flailing around. Well, anyway, she let go of the hand. I remember her walking straight up to me, and she knew exactly what to do. She was the only person in the circle, her and actually two other girls from the consciousness program. Amanda, funnily enough, the girl my sister who just passed away, she was there. And this other girl, two other girls named Amaya, they like rushed to my assist. Like these four women basically came towards me, but the girl who I was most challenged with was like the one who knew exactly. Like, so she touched me, and I started having full on vision of another timeline in Jesus times, like ancient biblical times.
Oh, wow.
And she put me in a chair, and okay, at this point, nobody knows what to do. And all of the green business people are like, oh God, these spiritual ones, and I could feel all of that, and I couldn't control what was happening. But she called to someone and said, bring a tub of water. And she put my feet in water. And the second she put my feet in the water, all of the toxicity that was running, the electrical currents that were making me twitch, it all just went into the water. Like it was like she captured the spirit that was trying to go through me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, in that moment, something karmically between her and me, it was like she was removing a curse that she had put on me in ancient times. I know it sounds weird, but this is exactly what I saw. And she knew what she was doing. And she kept petting my feet in this like way of, I'm so sorry, forgive me, and I love you way. And she got out these oils, and she started anointing my feet with oil and putting the oil in the water. And everything she did, I was so sensitive. Like, everything she did changed what I was seeing in this alternate vision and was helping my system stop. I was also crying hysterically. Like I couldn't stop sort of wailing. It was horrible. On a coolness level, I couldn't control it. and then she takes my feet out, and there's no towel. And she had this long flowing black hair, and she starts drying. Yeah, she starts drying my feet with her hair. And I was like, okay, I don't like this girl. I don't know why she's doing this. But God. I cracked. I just cracked into sobbingness, and I was holding her head. And she had her head on my knees as she's like drying my feet and putting these oils. And she did it in like the softest, most gentlest way I've ever had my feet touched in my life. Oh, wow. And we were both sobbing, and she's crying. And then the other women who were supporting her to get the water, bring the oils, and they're also concerned, they're my friends. They were just kneeling before me. I'm in a chair, and they're all kneeling on the floor. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. But what I realized is I had to drop all of my judgment towards her. It went away in the water. And whatever she did, I don't know, something, we transmuted something ancient, dark, and vile between the sisterhood. And we both went into a place of complete submission for the other. So even though she's washing my feet, and that's like a kind of hierarchical thing, right? Like the slaves would wash the feet, right? It's like a, not shameful, but a derogatory thing kind of to do, right? Like it's in the Hindu caste system, it's the lowest caste who washes someone's feet.
Really? Oh.
And so for her to do that is a sign of complete servitude, right?
Right.
So to wash the dirtiest part of my body, technically speaking. And for me to allow her to touch my feet, the most sensitive place of my portals of my body, you know, like where all this information is coming in and out, was I had to humble myself to even allow her to wash my feet. It was an unbelievable initiation. It went on for like 3 hours. I mean, everyone had gone home except the 4 women were left in this building. Like literally the whole room had transformed like 3 times in the midst of me falling into the convulsions. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we cleared something. It was the most beautiful ending. But what she told me in our integration moment, she said, you know, I don't know what was going on in the room, but I saw these dark shadows lurking. And I was like, I did too. And she said, and I felt like no one was holding the space properly. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was feeling. And it was making me uncomfortable. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do. She's like, yeah, I was told to do something with it, but I was scared of it. So I sent it to you because I knew you knew what to do with it. And she said she literally sent it to me like a lightning bolt. And that when she saw me collapse in convulsions, she got so scared. And that's why she ran straight to me. That's why she knew what to do, because she did it purposefully.
Oh gosh. Okay. That's freaky.
Consciously. Yeah. And that was like trippy for me, because I was like, okay, so she's also a seer, and we both, so here I am at the end of my thesis. I had just given my presentation like a few days prior to that. You know, it's the end of the term.
Right.
And she knew what my thesis was. So, and I forget what she was working on. I think goddess or Celtic wisdom, something like that. So she knew how to anoint feet. That was part of her studies.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
it was
beautiful.
the biggest blessing. I feel like we just cleared something like for the whole sisterhood. And these women who were watching, they knew, they also didn't like her very, and actually most of the women in our batch kind of didn't, we didn't jive with her. You know, there was something untrustworthy about her.
Huh.
And
I wonder what that was.
Cleared it. This somehow cleared it, where she was like forgiven for her. I felt like it was sort of, she had gone against the sisterhood or something, like she had, and it was sort of in a sexual way, like a Jezebel type thing, where she had like stolen, purposefully like enchanted a man or something like that wasn't hers to do. You know, like she was using sex magic basically in an ancient time, and the sisterhood had ostracized her basically because she was doing dark arts.
Right.
And
right.
illustrating like the bond of trust.
Wow. I wonder if something in the water too could just, you know, conduct all of that energy going through you. I mean, because we know that water conducts electricity. It's the whole thing is that is a crazy story. Oh my gosh. I can't believe she dried your feet with her hair. Oh.
It's interesting because I kept seeing biblical times and saying this, and I guess because she had done the studies and, you know, this part of her research, but I guess they did that in ancient times. Like, I think what's the story in the Bible of Jesus? Was it Mary Magdalene who washed his feet?
Yeah. Or he washed her feet.
Her feet.
He washed, not Mary Magdalene is the, oh my God, I should know
consort.
Right. Yes. Okay.
His twin,
the prostitute,
so-called prostitute. Yeah.
They were in the Bible.
Tantrika.
So-called prostitute. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I went to one of those, I'm blanking on the word right now, but I spent some time with the Peruvian elders and did some ceremony with them.
Quiero.
Yes. And they do that, you know, they had this whole thing where I stepped onto rose petals, and the grandfather, you know, was anointing my feet and with different, you know, sage and petals and other things. And one foot had white petals, I think, and the other foot had red petals. And
Oh, wow.
I wasn't sure what, I mean, the left side of the body, obviously we know is
clear the
female
masculine and feminine. Yeah.
right. And I know in Tantra, red is female and white is male. And I had that right. But so I'm not sure if that had something to do with it, or if it was masculine, feminine, or, you know, which side of the body or anything like that. But all I know is that stepping on those rose petals was amazing. And then he did a bunch of other stuff while I was just standing on these rose petals.
Well, in the Hungarian mysticism, red, you know, equates to passion and all of the, it's a total second chakra, you know, this passion, this lust, it connects to that. When you see red, like in a dream, it's also anger, whatever. So red, and the white is the full purity, the highest consciousness. So I think, I don't know what the Kiero's intention are, but when I look at it from my training, I would say that, you know, you're balancing out, and the passion's also where your life purpose and your direction in your life is going. Like, we follow our passions, right? So if we're purifying our passions, which to me would be like the red and the white road, we're cleansing, to find, you know, right livelihood, right relations, to follow the higher path, right? To be in balance between the two, where we're not like negating our passion for our spirituality, you know, like doing this higher than thou, you know, being an aesthetic or
being a nun.
Or the opposite of being like so in our lustful passion that we don't see the higher road or the higher meaning, and that we're not grounding the soul in the body, or our spirit essence we're not giving it precedence. So I feel like it's a merging. We should look that up. I wonder what the Kiero's intention is. That I do think
we need more balancing in the West and in the United States with our sexuality and spirituality coming together, and because there's a huge disconnection there. I did actually look up, and I found something interesting about the feet thing and the brain. And it said that the brain region, the region in the brain that manages genitalia is nestled against the region that manages feet. So that's just another little tidbit.
Yeah.
Little tidbit about.
Well, on that little tidbit, we need to say goodbye for today. Thanks for bringing up a very interesting and exciting conversation, Satya. That was somewhat surprising, but not knowing you. But thank you. And thanks for everyone who's listening. If you'd like to reach out to us and let us know your questions or comments about the show, please share the show with others you think would benefit from it. You can find us at lovesexagenda.com and on social media and all the podcast channels. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you'd like to contact us and stay in touch with us, you can find us at lovesexagenda.com. That's lovesexagenda.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. Bhargo devasya dhimahi,